Hello, so let me show you the work I've done on the latest function tree changes. I'm just using the to-do MVC here, and I have the debugger, which is it just runs the filter clicked signal here, and as you can see, it runs as normal. And we're going to play around with this a little bit. First of all, you can see one change I made here. I'm just exporting the function here. I'm not exporting like typically you would have to write this. Of course, that still works, but you don't have to do that anymore. You can export just a function. So these arrays doesn't mean much anymore. It just means a group of actions. So if I go in here and I say test A and I save this, we see that test A appears there. So this is a group of functions or actions. What's really cool is I mentioned this once, and with the change now, it's actually possible to identify groups of actions. So by default, this group of actions is the root level, so that's displayed just like this. But if I now go in here and I change this to an array, so you can imagine this, like typically you would not do this now, but you might actually import an array of actions or a group of actions, which would mean you would typically do like chain A, but now you don't have to do that. You can rather just put it right in there, and we would rather call it group A instead, and it would look something like this. And then function, when I say this now, you see that it actually gets highlighted as a group. So this is really great because now a composition isn't flattened. You can see how you compose different parts together, which is super awesome. It just improves the readability. And then we have some new stuff. So for example, if I do return new promise, and let's resolve this, and we do a set timeout, resolve it after 2 seconds, and just to show that something happens here, state set foo bar, I need state. And when I say this now, it takes 2 seconds, and then test B runs as we expect. But what we can do now is use this new all thing. Currently, I haven't changed the import yet. I will do that. But I can say all instead. And I don't pass in an array. I just pass in arguments. When I save now, it just instantly runs. And you can see it got this extra parallel highlighting on the left there. Maybe that should be more explicit somehow. But now these are running in parallel. So that's pretty cool. So what's really interesting now is that I can continue using these. Like you might import a group of actions into a parallel execution. So if I do function test, or I can wrap it around test B instead. Oops, sorry. So function test B and function test C. When I say this, we can see that we get a group inside this parallel async execution. And what's even more fun to see is that this actually works as expected. So if I do the state change in C here instead, state set foo bar, oh man, foo bar, and I will do this, make this shorter than this one. So what should happen now is that this should take 2 seconds, but it should run this group of actions instantly, but it shouldn't run test C, because this group of actions says that, okay, first run test B and then run test C. Okay, so maybe do 1 second instead. So we say that, and we take a look. It runs test B resolved after 1 second. Yeah, test A resolved after 2 seconds. But the way we can indicate this is if we put in something else here, test D, and then we do state set foo var2. So after 1 second, it should resolve this one. And after 2 seconds, it should resolve the whole async thing, and then run test D. So 1 second, 2 seconds. That's pretty awesome. So you have the possibility to group even within async, parallel execution, and it's actually highlighted. And that's something I think is really, really awesome. So the way this works now is that the state tree, by default, the state tree, let's give some room here. The state tree has some primitives, like it has a sequence, and it has, what did we call it? All. Okay, so we have like a type sec, and we have type all. So the point is that by default, sec equals array. So using the array literal means that, okay, you are creating a sequential execution of actions. But by explicitly saying all, then that's like a parallel execution. What's really cool about that is that it gave the possibility to indicate this grouping, but it also allows us to do things like raise and maybe other things as well. So this is a really big improvement. Like, it cleans up a lot of things. You don't have to think about how things are composed together. You just insert actions and groups of actions, and you will see in the debugger how they actually are composed by looking at these grouping indications. And you explicitly tell it to run asynchronously, in parallel, and all this good stuff. So I'm going to push this now. Yeah, I had to make a change to the debugger as well. So we need to test this a little bit, and then we'll merge it into the Cerebral 2 master branch. Okay, awesome. Thanks for listening.